Welcome to Deep Dive, the daily podcast from Career Spotlight Academy, where we take you beyond the surface of today's most exciting careers. From STEM to entrepreneurship, we'll explore the ins and outs of industries shaping the future. Get ready for expert insights, real-world advice, and a look into the skills you need to succeed. Let's dive into your future, one career at a time. Let's take that deep dive with Career Spotlight Academy.
Okay, so are you ready to dive into the future of STEM? We've got a whole stack of articles, research, even some podcast notes here, ready to unpack.
We're going to be looking at how STEM education and careers are changing because it's not about just knowing formulas anymore, is it?
No, not at all. It's more about what you actually do with that knowledge and how you think, how you adapt.
Exactly.
It's like the difference between reading about how to launch a rocket and actually building one yourself.
Yeah.
This Medium article we have here by Brent Willis really digs into this whole need for innovation in STEM education, and he calls it an urgency, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, and what's interesting is he's saying we're not just trying to keep up with today's technology, we're actually preparing for jobs that don't even exist yet.
That is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, that career you might have in 10 years' time, we can't even imagine it now.
That's both really exciting and also a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what we're doing here, right? Trying to get a better understanding of these changes.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that are actually driving this need for change?
Well, Willis highlights a few key forces.
Yeah.
The speed of technological advancement is one. So what you learned in school a few years ago might already be outdated.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got these global challenges that demand solutions that are really STEM-driven.
It's true. So, I mean, I look back at some of my old textbooks and it's like, yeah, that's ancient history now.
Right.
Especially with the rise of things like simulations and virtual labs.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of which, Willis talks about some really cool innovations that are happening right now in STEM education.
Yeah, he outlines 5 key innovations, and that first one, digital simulations and gamification, is a great example. I mean, imagine instead of memorizing physics formulas, you're designing a virtual roller coaster.
And that's what I call a thrill ride.
Yeah.
It's certainly a lot more engaging than just staring at a static diagram in a textbook.
Yeah.
So what's the method behind all of this? What's the reason why it's so exciting?
It's about making those abstract concepts tangible. So you're not just memorizing, you're actually applying it. You're experimenting. You're seeing the consequences in a really safe and fun environment. It's about making STEM more accessible for everyone.
So it's like experiencing gravity firsthand rather than someone just telling you about it.
Exactly.
Makes you think, why didn't we think of this sooner?
I know, right?
So this next innovation kind of takes that hands-on learning to a whole other level. Willis talks about makerspaces and robotics.
Yeah, think about it this way. It's those after-school robotics clubs, but it's becoming a core part of the curriculum. And we're not just talking about technical skills here, although those are important.
I know in these podcast notes we have here, there's a mention of a Career Spotlight Academy that lets students actually live these careers through simulations.
Exactly, and it's all about problem solving and collaborating, iterating on designs, learning from your mistakes, which is exactly what this Career Spotlight Academy emphasizes. They've got a life simulator program which is meant to be incredibly immersive.
Wow, so it's like a choose your own adventure, but for your future career.
Yeah.
And speaking of future careers, the third innovation Willis talks about is data science and computational thinking.
Yeah, and this is a big one no matter what field you're interested in. Data is everywhere. It's like the language of the future, and understanding how to collect it, how to analyze it, how to draw insights from that data is crucial, even if you're not going to be a data scientist.
So it's like data literacy is the new basic literacy.
Absolutely.
Employers are looking for people who can think critically about information, to be able to spot patterns and then make informed decisions based on those patterns.
Exactly. And it ties into that fourth innovation, personalized and adaptive learning. So imagine a system that actually adapts to your own individual student needs and their learning styles.
Okay, so this is straight out of a sci-fi movie. Are we talking AI tutors that are tailored to each student's needs?
Well, in a way, yes. Think about how Netflix will suggest shows based on what you've watched before.
Right.
So personalized learning uses similar technology to adapt the pace and the content of lessons. So it's almost like having a personal tutor who knows exactly how you learn best.
That's incredible. That is a game changer.
Yeah.
especially for subjects like math or science that some people find really challenging.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so what's the final innovation that's on Willis's list?
The fifth innovation he highlights is global collaboration projects. So imagine students from all over the world working together on real-world problems, sharing their ideas and solutions thanks to technology.
That's amazing. So it's like online gaming communities, but instead of just building virtual worlds, they're actually tackling things like climate change or coming up with solutions for sustainable energy.
Yeah.
Talk about inspiring the next generation of problem solvers.
And it's not even just about the technical skills. These projects really help students develop communication, cultural awareness, empathy, all those essential skills you need for the 21st century that employers are looking for.
So we're not just preparing students for jobs, we're preparing them to be global citizens. I
Exactly.
mean, these innovations transforming STEM education are really exciting. But I have to admit, I'm wondering about the bigger picture here.
Yeah, and that's where things get even more interesting. These classroom changes, they raise all sorts of questions about policy investment and the future of work itself, but we'll dive into that right after this. You're right, these innovations in STEM education are really exciting. But it does make you think about the bigger picture, because it's not enough to just have these changes happening in the classroom.
Right.
They need to be supported by a much broader system.
Yeah, it's like planting a garden. You need the right soil, the right sunlight, the right water for it to really flourish.
That's a great analogy.
What are the key ingredients for this STEM ecosystem that we're talking about?
Well, one crucial aspect is policy and investment. Governments and educational institutions really need to recognize how important STEM is and then put their money where their mouth is. So that means funding infrastructure teacher training, providing access to all these new technologies.
That makes a lot of sense, because what good is a cutting-edge virtual lab if there's no budget to maintain it, or if the teachers haven't actually been trained to use it? You need to have those support systems in place.
Exactly. And another really important aspect is bridging the gender and diversity gap in STEM. We need all the brilliant minds that we can get, which means breaking down those barriers and making sure everyone has the opportunity to succeed in these fields.
I completely agree. It's not just about fairness. It's about harnessing all of that incredible power that comes from having diverse perspectives. We can't just have the same voices at the table.
Absolutely.
So how do we actually make STEM more inclusive, more welcoming?
Well, it starts with representation. When young people from underrepresented groups can actually see people like themselves in STEM careers, it can be so inspiring. And then mentorship programs, scholarships, outreach initiatives that specifically target these groups, those can make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's about showing everyone that they belong in STEM. Their unique perspectives, their experiences are so valuable. So we've talked about policy, we've talked about investment, we've talked about bridging the diversity gap. But what about actually preparing students for the careers of tomorrow? Because these are jobs that might not even exist yet.
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's not just about technical skills anymore, especially with things like AI and automation becoming more prevalent.
So what do students really need to thrive in this kind of environment where jobs are changing so quickly?
Those so-called soft skills, they become non-negotiable. So adaptability, creativity, problem-solving, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn throughout your entire career.
So really it's about being comfortable with the unknown.
Precisely. The pace of change is accelerating all the time. So really the most valuable skill you can have is the ability to adapt to new technologies, to continuously be learning.
Right. And that's where all of those educational innovations that we talked about earlier really come into play.
Yeah.
The simulations, the global collaborations, the emphasis on real-world problem solving. It's not just about teaching content. It's about really instilling that love of learning that adaptability.
Absolutely. It's about fostering a mindset where you see challenges as opportunities for growth and you see change as a chance to evolve.
And that's relevant even if you're not in a STEM field,
Oh, absolutely.
because the world is changing rapidly no matter what you do.
Those core skills that we've been talking about, they're transferable to any profession, to any aspect of life, really.
We've covered a lot of ground here today. We've discussed the need for innovation in STEM, the specific ways that it's transforming and these bigger picture implications.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. And that brings us to a question that I think is really interesting given how complex STEM fields are becoming and how they're constantly evolving. how might this whole idea of lifelong learning be even more important for someone who's pursuing a STEM career?
Yeah, it's like we often think of education as something you finish, like a race with a finish line.
Yeah.
But maybe in STEM, there is no finish line.
Right.
It's just this constant evolution.
Precisely. It's not just about what you know right now. It's about your willingness to keep learning to adapt to new discoveries and update your skills throughout your entire career.
Which makes all of those 21st century skills even more important. Being able to think critically, solve problems, creatively learn new technologies quickly, because those become really essential skills in a constantly shifting STEM landscape.
Exactly. It's almost like a degree is just the starting point, the foundation.
Right.
But the real learning, the exciting part, comes from that lifelong pursuit of knowledge and how you apply that knowledge throughout your career.
It really highlights just how important it is to approach education in those more innovative ways, right? The simulations, global collaborations focusing on solving problems in the real world.
Yeah.
It's not just about memorizing facts anymore.
It's not about memorizing. It's about that curiosity and that love for learning.
Exactly. And being able to adapt to new situations.
Yeah.
I mean, we've touched on a lot of really big, complex ideas today.
We have.
We've talked about the need for innovation in STEM, all the ways that it's changing the implications for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot to process for anybody.
It is a lot.
What would you say to our listeners out there who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this?
It's understandable to feel overwhelmed because it is a huge topic and it's changing so rapidly.
Right.
But I think rather than letting that uncertainty make you freeze up, you should let it energize you.
Yeah.
Embrace that unknown and see it as an opportunity to be curious, to experiment, to never stop learning.
And just cling to what's familiar,
Yeah.
right? Go out and help shape the unfamiliar.
Exactly.
Be the innovator, the one solving the problems.
Yeah, be a lifelong learner.
You know that those podcast notes that we have about the Career Spotlight Academy and their Life Simulator program,
Yeah.
what a perfect example of the resources that are out there to help people navigate this stuff.
Absolutely, because you get to try things out, you make mistakes in a safe environment, and you really figure out what works for you.
Right. And that's so important because the future of STEM isn't something that just happens to us.
Right.
It's something that we create through the choices we make, our curiosity, our willingness to really dive into the unknown.
So if you're listening to this and you're feeling that little spark of interest in STEM, even if you're just curious about the future of work, don't let the uncertainty of it all hold you back. Let it inspire you.
I love that. Let it inspire you because there's so much potential there.
There really is.
Keep asking questions.
Wait.
Never lose that curiosity
Yeah.
because the future of STEM is out there waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely. And who knows, you might be the one to make the next big breakthrough.
Exactly.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about today, and it's really exciting to know that the future of STEM is something that we're all creating together. It's a story that's waiting to be written, and it's full of possibilities.
It really is. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And for everyone listening, we'll see you on the next deep dive.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We hope you're feeling inspired and ready to take the next step toward your future career. Don't forget to join us every day for more insights, tips, and real-world advice to help you succeed. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and let Career Spotlight Academy guide you to success.